Hey, good night. How you guys are doing? With another live here. Retired Command Sergeant Major Ed Centeno. Yeah, let's go, baby. Please share this with service members. It's gonna be an interesting topic tonight. Por favor, compartan estos videos con miembros de servicio. Va a ser un tema interesante esta noche. Share, please. Interesting topic tonight we're gonna cover, so please share these videos before we start. Thank you for all those that are tuning in. Hey, good night to all. Again, this is a retired Command Sergeant Major Ed Centeno from Edson Consulting. You can find me at edsonconsultation.com. That is my website. Please share this video with other veterans out there. It's going to be a great video tonight, so please share. If you cannot watch the video now, it's going to be saved on Facebook, and also I'm live on my YouTube channel. Do not forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel at Edson Space Consultation. Again, Edson Space Consultation. So you can share these videos and help some other service members out there. What do? I do VA claims or help with VA claims, retirement consultation, resumes, and notary public. If you live or reside in the Central Florida area, let me know and I can help you out with that, okay? This information is not sponsored by any government entity. This is a consulting business. I do not represent the military or any affiliates of the military. I retired in 2020 as a Command Sergeant Major CSM from the Army Reserves. If you send me any private message through my website, please make sure that you include your name, phone number, and email so I can reach back to you. Also taking phone calls at the end or when I'm about to end the lives. You can call me, you can send me a message through Facebook or to my YouTube channel, and the phone number is 321-710-5570. Again, 321-710-5570. You send me a message that you want to call me to ask me any question. I put my phone on my headphones and I can talk to you on the phone, okay? There's a lot of competition out there before I start this video tonight. And we're gonna talk about benefits for combat veterans. When we're talking about disability compensation for veterans, but in specific, what is the difference from veterans and combat veterans, okay? So everybody knows what's gonna be the context, content tonight, okay? But there's a lot of competition out there, especially with VA claims, and it's awesome. There's a lot of people hustling out there. But I want to tell you why do I bring it to the table before I start this video tonight. I have 27 years on federal service. This year is going to be 28 years in September. I achieved 100% total and permanent on my own. So I know how the system works, okay? The thing that I can give you that a lot of people don't have is a strategy. I'm going to say this again. What I can bring into the table is a strategy, okay? I know how to work the system based on your conditions. Every case is different, but I can help you to build a strategy, okay? I know how the system works, okay? So I can help you with a strategy. And also for my Hispanic community, I can speak Spanish, okay? Para aquellos que hablan español, puedo ayudarles también en español. Un poquito de background, a little bit of my background, 25 years in the military as a retired command sergeant major. I'm still working for the government, but I'm in a civilian capacity. I have crossed over 3 law enforcement agencies. You can go into my website at etsingconsultation.com and you can see a little bit of my background. But I do have a lot of experience. And again, with the competition, I know. Hey, David Castro. Hey, brother. Thanks for tuning in, brother. Gracias por conectarte. So that's what I bring into the table. There's a lot of competition out there. And that's awesome. I mean, the competition is awesome. But I'll tell you what I bring into the table. Because one thing is to talk a good game, but do you have the experience? One thing is to have the schooling, but do you have the experience? It's like being a lawyer. There's a lot of people that don't know, including service members, that you don't really need a lawyer to submit a VA claim. Now, when you get a lawyer, of course, they have experience, okay, or some experience. They do have the studies. But I tell you, knowing the system, how it works, what you really need is someone that can work the system and know how the system works. And that's what I bring into the table. So we're going to talk about tonight, the topic is going to be, and I'm going to do it in Spanish and then switch, on English first, and then I'm going to switch to Spanish for those Spanish speakers. I usually do a small abbreviation for the Spanish, so to let people know that if they need any help, they can reach out and I can help them. So we're going to talk about combat veterans benefits, okay? We're going to talk about the difference from regular veterans, okay, or veterans and combat veterans. There's difference on benefits and specific for health benefits. So first, let's go to some definitions so you understand what I'm talking about. What is a veteran, okay? A veteran is someone who served to the nation, right, in a military uniform. So it has to be in uniform. After they went to training, of course, before you serve the military, of course, you have to go to basic training. You have to get certified. So that is what a veteran is, okay? The difference to a combat veteran is that they have received hostile fire pay, also known of HFP, or serve in a combat zone. So there's some of these differences there that you have to have served in a combat zone. There's another difference here that some people deploy, but they don't deploy to a combat zone. And that's the difference, because you need to identify if you qualify for additional benefits or health benefits. It's really important for you to understand this. Now, what documentation you can use that you can prove that you are a combat veteran, okay? What documentation you can use that you can prove that you are a combat veteran? Because if you submit a claim, one of the things that help you with your claim is if you are a combat veteran, and this is really important. I'm going to switch here my screen in a second, okay? And I'm going to show some of my DD-214s. I got like 5 of them because, again, from active duty to reserve. And I'm going to go specific, okay, to block 18 on the remarks. And I want you to see it yourself. Let me change my screen here, all right? Bear with me for a second. So this is one of my DD-214s, okay? And I omitted a lot of information, of course, for security purposes. But if you go to block 18 over here in the remarks, you can see that I highlighted what deployments I have done. So I have Kosovo, I have the times in there, service in Kuwait, Iraq, Iraq. So it has the deployments that you did while on active duty, or if you went in the Reserve or National Guard, you also should get a DD-214, and I'm gonna cover that a little bit later on the live, okay? Because it's important. Hey, honey, thanks for tuning in. So it's important for you to understand that you have to identify if you're a combat veteran, okay? Because this gives you extra benefit and it gives more evidence to your claim, and you need to understand this. So this is where you find it on remarks on block 18 of your DD-214. You need to see that. You see that I'm going to show you another ones. Another way, another way that you can see or show that or prove that you actually serve in combat is your ERB, enlisted record brief. Why? When you read here, and you of course you have to make sure you update this stuff. When you see over here, it gives you deployment and combat duty. A lot of service members probably don't know this, but this is another way you can prove that you're being in a combat zone. And this is to submit VA claims, okay? Pretty much self-explanatory, but this is where you find out if you have been deployed to combat, okay? If you don't have an updated, it's gonna have discrepancies from your DD-214. This is when I got out as an E7 from active duty, so of course, you're gonna have some discrepancies. There's all the schools in there, which they can also help you because it helps you with the kind of job that you did, okay? Even though you were support, you were also, like myself, I was supporting infantry, airborne, and also special forces airborne, which also gave you a little bit more evidence to the kind of job that you did. Again, going to block 18, this one doesn't have any because this was a mobilization stateside that I was on E8 at the time. And that one I had to amend, but let me see another one here. This one right here, one of them is for Hurricane Maria, I think, if I'm not mistaken. But this is where you can see if you can prove that you've been to combat. Now, another example I'm gonna give you. Not only has to be combat that you can prove that you have an incident on an accident. For example, I gave you Hurricane Maria, that people probably got hurt while they were doing their job in Hurricane Maria. This is the one for Hurricane Maria over here. So you can actually prove that you were mobilized with your DD-214. So that's evidence that you can use to prove that you were injured while on service, and you can actually have more evidence on your claim. So this is how important this is, okay? So I'm gonna switch here screen again. If you don't have your DD-214, okay, pretty simple. If you're still on service, I can help you with this. I'm just letting you know real quick. I'm gonna put all these links when I edit the video on YouTube. But if you still have a ID from the military, which I still do have one, you can go here, or you can also log in. You can make a login to get your records, your old records. I'm talking about the DD-214s. Just go in here, click. It's gonna ask you for your just go. I'm gonna go. You can log in with a DS login, but I'm gonna log in with my CAC card because I still have one. And let me see if it works, because you know how the systems are. You see, it asks me for my PIN number. Okay, you put your PIN number there, and it's gonna open. Right, it's opening right now. Okay, it's gonna do the authentication process. Then after that, accept, and you're gonna be in your records. Go to documents, right? All your records are there, okay? Even though you got out of the military, you still can access your IPERMs, okay? I'm talking about for those out there that do not have your DD-214. There's other ways I'm gonna show you here in a second, and I will post these links on the YouTube channel once I'm done. Another way you can do it is to the VA portal. I'll put this link also there. It's really easy to do. I mean, you can connect with a HealthVet or a VA account in there, and you can also get your DD-214. But most of you have your DD-214. This is for the ones that don't have it, okay? I wanna make sure I cover that, okay? So let me go back out here, how to get your DD-214. I explained that. There's other documents like I talked about that you can use to actually prove that you were a combat veteran or you are a combat veteran. And I talked about the ERB, right? We covered the ERB. Another thing you can use that you were in combat is your combat awards. Bronze Stars, Purple Heart can also prove that you were in combat, and that give more evidence for your VA claims. Military deployment orders, you can also use that. And also any document that can reflect that you were deployed to a combat theater. I talked about the difference from deploying to a combat zone or to actually to being in combat. There's a little bit different. One example I can give you is those that deploy to Kuwait. Even though it's deemed and identified as a combat zone, you're not actually in combat. So when you submit a claim of an incident or an injury, you have to make sure that you have enough evidence, but it's different when you are identified as a combat veteran because you were in a combat zone. So that's the difference that we have here. The reason I talked about these documents, okay, because in my experience, in special for Reserve and National Guard, is that some mobilizations are stateside. And this happened to me as an example. When you mobilize stateside, what happens is you're supposed to go to pre-mob and then post-mobilization, and some units forget to send their soldiers to the nearest installation. And this happened to us the first time we did a mobilization here in the States, and they don't get a DD-214. So this is so important for you that when you're mobilized stateside from the Reserve and the National Guard, for example, national emergencies authorized by the president, right? When he declares the state of national emergency, if you don't go to the process, to our process, while you're on orders, then you're probably gonna miss the opportunity to get your DD-214. And that many stuff happens there. There's many reasons that don't get it, but this is the reason I'm saying this, so you can get your DD-214. Now, there are differences from veterans and combat veterans, and how does this affect with VA benefits? It's important to identify combat veterans to see if they qualify for additional benefits. The VA gives benefits to veterans for disabilities, illness, or suffer an injury connected to time in service. This is for all veterans. So every veteran out there qualify if they have any kind of connected injury or condition that was aggravated due to the service. That means that the incident happened while in the service. Every service member is entitled if they suffer any of the conditions while in service. Okay, when I'm talking about conditions, disability, illness, or suffer injuries connected while in service. Now, let's go to benefits for combat veterans. You might ask, what does that mean? That means that you get kind of extra benefits, and some of them has to do with veterans health benefits. So you get health benefits with Veterans Health Administration, and I'm going to cover this here in another PDF that I have so I can cover it. So this is the extra, or one of the extras benefits that you get if you are a combat veteran. And I highlighted some of the stuff here so you understand, and this is called the Combat Veteran Eligibility, and this was enacted on 2008, and this is the law that was enacted under Title 38 and Section 1710. And what it says is this: it says extending the period of eligibility to health care. So this is an extra benefit, health care. What it means, to break it down, is if you incur any injury while on combat, you can receive health benefits. Okay, meaning that you can take care of the injuries that happen while in combat, and the administration. And it's not the VA, it's the agency or the entity is between VA, but it has to be with health benefits. And they'll cover everything. So this is commonly referred to as combat veterans, or OEF, Operation Enduring Freedom, and OIF, Operation Iraqi Freedom. Under the Combat Veteran Authority, the Department of Veterans, VA, provides cost-free health care services and nursing home care for conditions possibly related to military service and enrollment in Priority Group 6, and I'll cover that here in a second, unless eligible for enrollment in a higher priority group. Combat veterans who were discharged or released from active service on or after January 28, 2003 are now eligible to enroll in the VA health care system for 5 years from the date of discharge or release. So you can be covered for 5 years once you come back from the deployment or the combat zone. This is huge because a lot of combat veterans acquire injuries while deployed on combat. So this is extra benefits that you get if you're a combat veteran. And this is really important to know for those service members out there. I will post this on the YouTube channel, okay? And to make sure that you have the information. Health benefits under the Combat Veteran Authority, and this is what you get. Cost-free care and medication provided for conditions potentially related to combat service. Enrollment in priority group 6 unless eligible for enrollment in a higher priority group. And full access to VA medical benefits package. So this is huge. And this is the reason I put this information out there, because you need to understand the benefits or extra benefits that you have as a combat veteran, okay? All right, let me switch my screen again here. But this is awesome for those combat veterans out there. Okay, when we're talking about priority group 6, this is what it says. That you qualify if you are newly enrolled in the VA healthcare. And that's what I'm talking about. Do you qualify for that? And then you'll be put into the priority group 6. And this is some of the conditions. You serve in the theater of combat operations after November 11, 1998, and you were discharged less than 10 years ago. So this is some of the conditions. Again, I will post the link so you have the information. Now, another benefit that combat veterans get is, and I talked about this and I have another video and I'll post a link on my YouTube channel, and it has to do with combat related special compensation. The CRSC, combat related special compensation. And what that is another difference or kind to prove that you actually were, or what this does is actually you can get medical retirement pay because you were hurt during combat, okay? And I will not talk a lot about this. I will put the link because I have another video about this, but this is addition with the benefits that you can get if you're a combat veteran, okay? And I think I do have a link here. Hold on a second. Okay, here it is. All right, I'll cover some of them because I do have some of this stuff here that is really important, okay? And it's about the eligibility, okay? I want to make sure I cover that real quick. And I'm talking about combat-related special compensation. Details about retirement eligibility. The big difference is that you must have served 20 years of service in the military. This is the difference that a lot of service members are there don't know. For this benefit, for the CRCS, combat-related special compensation, you must serve or have served 20 years. You retire for medical reasons with a disability rating of at least 30% under Chapter 61. When it talked about disability, it talks about the VA system separate from the military. Remember, if you retire medically from the military, you have to go to a medical board. It's a whole process. It could take up to a year. The process is faster now, but it could take some time. You cover under temporary early retirement. That's if they have that period of time. That's to retire with only 15 years of service. You're on temporary disability retire, TDRL, and you're on the permanent disability retire list. So this is some of the requirements for this other benefit that you can get. All right, this is gonna be included on the links on the YouTube channel. You see the difference, how you can prove that you're a combat veteran. We talked about that. But when we talked about the differences, okay, when you submit a claim from being a regular veteran from a combat veteran, you can see that it's better supported by providing evidence to include statements, or body statements is also known as body statements or sworn statements. It's a little bit easier when you're a combat veteran, when the examiner can get the entire picture of the claim. And the best example I explain this is an investigation. The examiner is doing an investigation based on evidence. If you don't have enough evidence, you cannot prove to the examiner that is doing the revising the claim that you have a legit claim. That's what evidence is so important. That's what I tell service members, that you must make copies of your medical records before you retire or you ETS out of the system. This is another example how combat veteran can relate or have more evidence to submit to their claim. And this is a simple example. If a clerk, I think it's 42 Alpha if I'm not mistaken, in garrison, even when he's deployed, he's probably in a combat zone, right? But he's still working on his capacity as a 42 Alpha or admin, administrative, human resources, right? So it's a little bit harder for a 42 Alpha to explain that he was exposed to combat or a combat environment compared to an infantryman that's his job. That's what he does all day. My point to this is your job description also helps you to submit a VA claim, in special in you're in combat, because for an infantryman, that's what he does. He fights the enemy. When he submits a claim and he submits a sworn statement from a buddy, from a friend, or the buddy submit a sworn statement for him, he can claim, yes, I was with him. I was there when the IED exploded. I was there when my friend got shot. And I saw it, and that's evidence. So that's the difference from veteran and a combat veteran. That's how more valid the evidence is. And that's what is so important about knowing this. It's super important to know this. Now, you may ask, how could this affect your claim or benefits? When you talk about exposure while you're in combat, exposing yourself to different factors or risk factors, you need to see it this way. If you're in a combat zone, I explained to you the 42 Alpha, the admin, that he, even though he's in the combat zone, but he's not actually in combat or fighting the enemy, you actually start or are exposed to different risk factors, okay? And this is in a combat zone as a combat veteran, okay? You're talking about exposure to PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, exposure to loud noise while in combat, explosions, bullets, IEDs, helicopters noise, anxiety. You develop anxiety, you're in combat. Burn pits, you're exposed to burn pits more in a combat environment than in garrison. When I'm talking about garrison is office work or back in the rear, how we say it. Sleep deprivation. If you're in combat, you're gonna suffer from sleep deprivation. We all know that. And also I added here anxiety and depression. So you have to understand the difference from a veteran to a combat veteran, how much evidence or you can prove because you were in combat. This can better help you explain your condition while in combat or the aggravation of the condition because you were in combat. In my experience, I just told you that I did 25 years, almost 26. I did 3 tours to Iraq, okay? I did 2 full years in Iraq completely. Hey, mi hermano, Hilario, God bless you, my brother. So I know friends that been deployed. I did 3 deployments, 2 full years. I know friends that have deployed for 6, 7, even 8 times. I know friends that have deployed for 5 to 6 years out of their military career, going to Afghanistan and Iraq. When I supported 5th Special Forces Group, I did my 3rd deployment and I was gonna go into my 4th one, and I said, this is getting a little bit old and you never know you're gonna make it back, I'll be honest with you. And I will support, I'll be honest, I will support. I did go in a lot of combat missions because, they support also do missions with them. But my point is, when you start seeing coworkers that have this many tours in the combat zone, you're exposed to all these risks, which also bring more evidence for the exposure to risks that you have different conditions. So it's really important for you to understand that the exposure that you get as a combat veteran. Now you might ask, how could this affect even service to those that support? You have medics, combat medics, you have support in communications, you have support in human resources like I talked about. Well, a lot of service members don't know, or a lot of people don't know that these many MOSs, we call it in the Army, occupations, they actually get embedded with infantry. They get embedded with special forces. They get embedded with paratroopers or infantry, airborne, and they actually are there doing the same stuff. So they seen combat, especially for medics. I've seen a lot of stuff. I mean, a lot of people don't know how much medics see out there in the combat field, in the combat zone. My point is, not only looked at your job description, think about what you did, the people you were around with, and those sworn statements that can help you out to build your record to claim PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, anxiety, and depression. Because a lot of us suffer from that, and we don't even know that we have it. Or a lot of us don't want to actually seek help because of many reasons. But this is what I do. I love to help service members. I want to make sure that you actually gain your entitlement to your benefits, and it's your hard work, tears, and it's sad that a lot of us don't know how important this is for us to gain our claims. Okay. One thing to have a condition, and another thing is to prove it that it happened while in service. I want to repeat that. One thing is to have a condition, okay, and you know that you have a condition, and it's actually diagnosed when you do your CMP exam with VA. But another thing is to prove it that it happened while in service. So it's super important for you that you are able to prove it. I told you many times, make sure you make copies of your medical records, sworn statements, people that you know while in service and know you were there, you enlisted records, anything that you can prove that you were in combat, so you can actually help you out with your VA claim. So this is the time that I ask you. You have any questions, you can call me. You can send me a message first so I can put my headphones and I can listen. If you have any questions, we can go live here and everybody can listen to the conversation. So my phone number is 321-710-5570. Again, 321-710-5570. I will go into the news real quick and then I'll transition into Spanish. Okay. Let me change my screen here in a second. Again, I'm going to post these links on my YouTube channel so you see them. This is what I talked about, the different groups. And I'll post all this. This is about the combat related special compensation. But real quick in the news, just to cover the news, former Army reservist spied for Chinese government. This is pretty recent. This is actually today. And this is Chicago federal judge sentenced a former Army reservist to 8 years in prison Wednesday for spying for a Chinese government by gathering information on scientists and engineers in the United States who specialize in aerospace and satellite technology. Reserve soldier, he got hammered doing the wrong stuff and bad stuff over here. The other one that I have is, which is, I talked about this before, but I guess is a big issue. And I know I don't have Kavan here. He could have helped me with this. But troops can get discharge forms or retire due to Army human resources transition. I guess they're transitioning to a new system, a database that they cannot even produce a D214. Soldiers trying to leave the Army currently have their lives on hold due to a systems outage blocking the discharge paperwork. The service confirmed to the Army Times on Wednesday. The outage, which is preventing the Army from issuing a DD-214 discharge forms or processing retirement requests for approximately 4,000 troops. That is sad. Hopefully they can fix that right away because that is a big problem. Okay, so if anybody has any question, I'll transition to Spanish here real quick, and nobody wants to call me in English. Again, for those English speakers, If you want to stay, you're more than welcome. I know some of the people that are still here speak both languages, but I'll transition. The one in Spanish is faster, okay? Muy buenas noches, este es el sargento mayor retirado de comando Ed Centeno de Epstein Consulting. Me pueden encontrar a epsteinconsultation.com. Por favor, compartan estos videos, estamos tratando de ayudar a veteranos. No se olviden de suscribirse a mi canal. El canal es Epstein Espacio Consultation. Ese es el canal de YouTube. ¿Qué yo hago? Hago discapacidad de veteranos, también hago consulta de retiro, resumen, notaría pública. Yo no apoyo o estoy representando a ninguna entidad del gobierno. Esto es un negocio de consultas. Si me envían un mensaje, por favor, en mi página epsteinconsultation.com, asegúrese que me ponga su nombre, número de teléfono y también su email, correspondencia o correo electrónico para poder conectarme con usted nuevamente. A lo último, siempre digo, si usted quiere llamarme en el live, usted puede hacerlo en el 321-710-5570 y le puedo tomar la llamada. Si tiene alguna pregunta, puedo ayudarle aquí en vivo. ¿Por qué debe usted contratar mis servicios? ¿Verdad? Porque mucha gente está haciendo esto. Y entonces, ¿qué es lo que yo traigo en la mesa? Lo he dicho anteriormente, lo puede ver en mi página, el background y mi resumen o parte de mi resumen. 27 años con el gobierno, 25 años en la milicia, todavía ejerzo con el gobierno. Este año cumplo 28 años con el gobierno. Yo solo pude obtener 100% total y permanente de discapacidad de veterano por diferentes condiciones en el cuerpo. Y lo más que yo te puedo dar es una estrategia. Mucha gente tiene estudios, pero no tiene la experiencia. Tengo mucha experiencia en cómo darte la estrategia para poder subir tu porcentaje de veterano. Sé cómo trabaja el sistema y para aquellos hispanos también hablo español. Como les dije, hice 25 años, me retiré como sargento mayor de comando y también tengo 3 agencias con el gobierno, de law enforcement, de la ley civil básicamente. Entonces vamos a hablar bien rápidamente de la diferencia entre veteranos de combate y veteranos. Una de las diferencias más grandes, que todo el mundo tiene derecho a discapacidad si tuviste un accidente mientras estuviste en servicio o si tuviste un agravante, una condición mientras estabas en el servicio. Pero la diferencia más grande cuando es un veterano de combate es que recibiste lo que se llama Hostile Fire Pay o estuviste en la zona de combate o cuando estabas en la zona de combate. ¿Cómo puedes probar eso? Lo puse en la parte de inglés, lo puedes probar con la 214. También lo puedes corroborar con documentos que tuviste mientras estuviste en servicio. Pueden verlo en la parte primera del video. En los remarks o en los comentarios en el bloque 18, ahí puedes encontrar referencia si estuviste en combate o no. Bien fácil, di el ejemplo en inglés, pueden referirse a eso. También algunos documentos que puedes buscar es lo que se llama Listed Record Brief, awards o medallas de combate, órdenes de combate cuando fuiste a combate. Eso lo puedes utilizar para probar que fuiste o eres veterano de combate. Si no tienes la 214 también le puedo ayudar con eso. Si no la tienen, bien fácil, lo puedes solicitar a través de la página de VA y también lo puedes hacer de diferentes maneras. La razón por qué yo estoy hablando de esto es porque muchos soldados algunas veces no saben cómo probar que son soldados de combate o qué beneficios diferentes pueden tener cuando son soldados de combate. Cuando hablamos de discapacidad de veterano, es un poco más fácil probar tu condición cuando fuiste veterano de combate. Entonces, tienes acceso a beneficios adicionales. Y uno de ellos es ayuda médica para aquellos veteranos de combate. Y esto pueden ser hasta 5 años desde que llegaste de tu último movilización y tiene que ver con las condiciones que incurriste mientras estuviste en combate. Son 5 años y te cubre completamente. Esto es con el departamento de veteranos, pero es de médicos, son entidades diferentes debajo del departamento de veteranos. Esto fue una ley que se pasó en el 2008, está vigente y solamente quiero que entiendan que tiene acceso a beneficios adicionales porque eres veterano de combate por esas injuries o por esas condiciones que tuviste mientras estuviste en combate. Bien importante que entendamos esto. El grupo 6 básicamente lo que dice es que tienes que estar o tienes la capacidad del beneficio de conectarte o tener beneficios médicos porque incurriste obviamente discapacidad por condiciones que sucedieron mientras estaba en combate. Otra cosa es lo que se llama el Combat Related Special Compensation, y esto es si te retiraron por condiciones que incurrieron mientras estuvieras en servicio en combate, y esto lo que te hace básicamente hace una combinación y te dan discapacidad de veterano y también te dan tu retiro. He hablado de esto anteriormente, voy a poner el link en el canal de YouTube cuando edite el video, porque es bien importante que entendamos esto también. Una de las condiciones es que tiene que haber estado 20 años o cumplido haber 20 años en la reserva o en el componente activo de cualquier servicio. Que yo sé que muchas personas que se conectan están en esa categoría. Cuando hablamos de servicio en combate tenemos que entender que somos expuestos a diferentes riesgos más que un veterano que tenga un trabajo corriente. Hablé de Human Resources o personas que trabajan en oficina. También hablé que cuando referente al trabajo que estás expuesto a una zona de combate, puedes estar en la zona de combate pero no estás en la batalla. Entonces ahí también puedes explicar a qué riesgos estuviste expuesto. Y uno de ellos voy a hablar aquí que puedes incurrir mientras estás en combate son lo que se llama eventos traumáticos. Lo que se llama exponiéndote a fuegos o a humos, lo que se llama burn pits, depravación de dormir, depresión, ansiedad y exposición al sonido. ¿Por qué? Tienes explosiones, tienes disparos, tienes un sinnúmero de cosas que estás expuesto. Y eso es la diferencia bien grande que tenemos que entender cuando eres un veterano de combate. Esto puede explicarse mejor para ver que tienes derechos a beneficios adicionales. En mi experiencia tuve 3 veces, 4 con la de Kosovo, eso no lo dije en inglés. Entonces he visto muchas personas, compañeros que han estado movilizados por 5 o 6 años de su servicio y muchos de ellos no saben que tienen beneficios adicionales. No tan solo eso, la exposición que le estoy diciendo de los riesgos que estaban expuestos. Algunas veces estas condiciones son más severas que otras porque estuvieron expuestos mucho más tiempo. Estás hablando también de separación de la familia, son muchos riesgos que están expuestos y también daños psicológicos, obviamente. Pero esa es la exposición al riesgo que se está exponiendo todas estas personas. Espero que entiendan lo que estoy hablando. Es la versión un poco en español. Obviamente hablé completo el contenido en inglés. Si no tienen alguna pregunta, como siempre digo, me pueden llamar al 321-710-5570. Me ponen un mensaje y podemos hablar y cualquier pregunta que tengas en específico. Y no se olviden de suscribirse a mi canal, por favor. Etching Espacio Consultation. Etching Espacio Consultation. Por favor, compartan estos videos, ayúdenme a tener más personas suscritas en mi canal. Gracias a todos aquellos que se suscribieron a mi canal. Poco a poco está subiendo la audiencia. Estoy tratando de proveer contenido en diferentes plataformas. También voy a estar en Twitch y en otras plataformas para obviamente que se llegue la voz. Me queda poco tiempo para retirarme completamente y voy a proveer diferentes servicios, pero obviamente hasta que no me retire completamente no lo puedo hacer. Pero eso es todo por la noche. De verdad, muchas gracias a todos que se conectaron. Estaremos aquí nuevamente el jueves que viene a las 7, Dios mediante. Si tienen alguna pregunta, no olviden de enviarme un mensaje privado. También lo pueden hacer en mi página de consultation.com. No se olviden, si me hacen si me preguntan, poner su nombre, su número de teléfono y su correo electrónico. Lo voy a repetir. No se olviden, si me envían un mensaje en mi página Exing Consultation, que por favor me pongan su número de teléfono, su correo electrónico, para yo poder conectarme con ustedes. Nuevamente, muy buenas noches, que pasen una bonita noche. Nos veremos nuevamente el jueves a las 7 de la noche. Si tienen alguna pregunta me avisan y nos vemos nuevamente. Buenas noches, bye bye.